What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. We had XO19 yesterday, watched it. I thought it was okay. I mean, it's like their fan event, and when they started talking a bit about it being Rare and Obsidian showing their new games or new IPs, I didn't know if it'd be huge because they didn't say like the Initiative or Playground. But we heard about Rare and Obsidian, so I was looking forward to what they had to show. I think Rare's looks interesting, but there were a lot of other announcements there as well. And overall, I thought it was okay. I thought it was better than last year's, definitely, and probably the best Inside Xbox that they've had. Although I'm not really sure how much that's actually saying. Also, Google Stadia. The closer we get to launch, the worse it looks. Especially after yesterday with xCloud being shown off. Ooh, Google Stadia it's not going to get out of the gate, I'll say very quickly, especially after an AMA that they held, talking about a lot of features that we thought were going to be there at launch and apparently will not be. As always, guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure to like button, it does help out, and get subscribed so you stay up to date on the gaming news going on in the gaming world. We're going to start with the Megaman ZX collection. Remember, this was supposed to be out at the end of January. Well, last night on Twitter, they posted on the official Megaman Twitter account saying that it would be delayed roughly a month. February 25th is the new date, being moved from January 21st. And of course, this is the collection that was going to come out that had all of the Mega Man Zero games on there and then the pair of Mega Man ZX games. And I was really excited to see this because Mega Man Zero was, again, kind of one that a lot of people didn't necessarily play. I remember playing it, two of them, I believe, on the Game Boy Advance, and they had like their own collection, I remember, that came out later on. I think that was for the DS, but a lot of people did not play those, so it's cool to see that. Getting pushed back a month is unfortunate. They say it is to polish the game further and just make sure there's no bugs, iron out some possible issues that may not be able to be done before it comes out. You know what? At this point, I'd rather them fix it before it comes out and it's all on the cartridge or the disc rather than have to have, like 8 patches or something just to get the thing running. I can wait an extra month. Also, Jedi Fallen Order is out today, and while reviews didn't really go up until I think late last night or early this morning, because the review embargo was up like when the game actually came out, which is always a bit alarming, a little strange, but of course, you can't help it. Copies ended up breaking street date, and one of the things that was pointed out is that apparently it has a performance and it has like a graphical mode, where the performance mode, of course, will give you higher frame rates, and according to several places like Respawn First, it's a fairly stable 60 frames per second in performance mode on the PlayStation 4 Pro, which we would assume at that point, based on the Xbox One X being stronger, if you get it on the X, you should have an even more stable time at 60 frames. Then, of course, the graphics mode will give you better visuals, sharper visuals, probably more effects, and according to them, 30 frames per second. So I'll be playing it today and should have my thoughts and impressions and everything ready to go for Spawncast, so make sure you tune in Saturday night, and then Evan will be talking about Pokemon as well as I'm sure several others, so I'll be the one playing Star Wars while everyone's playing Pokemon. Oh, and we've been talking about that Sony cartridge patent for a while now, just trying to figure out what it is, throwing ideas out there. Well, we might have a better idea now as to what it could be. In fact, this is probably the most likely situation considering how close this is to what the patent looks like. Take a look at this tweet here. This is from MJ at Maddie Jenkins, pointing out that it looks very similar to Sony's, their little like programming education device. It's the TOIO. I'm not really 100% sure on how to pronounce that. The Toyo, I guess. And it looks like that would be the cartridge that is used as almost like an expansion cart or cart pack. That looks very, very similar to what we've seen in that patent. So I'm going to start leaning towards this. Good job to MJ for finding that. I would have liked to think that it would have been a swappable SSD or some upgrade path for the PlayStation 5. And while it is not, I guess, definitively proven that this is what it is, it could end up being possibly the next cartridge in line for the Toyo or whatnot. And we've seen this before where a cartridge was found, is this weird looking one, and ended up being for this device. It's very possible that it could just be another cartridge for this device, but we'll have to see going into next year when I'm sure the PS5 will be unveiled in like February or March, and hopefully they'll have some way at least for us to expand storage or replace the drive inside if it fails. If it's soldered to the board and we have an issue with corrupted memory, that's not going to be fun because that means your whole PS5 is getting replaced. And guys, some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start with XO19. It was roughly 2 hours or so long when they streamed it. I think they even had like kind of like this pre-stream thing going on, but when they were all finished, it was like 120 something minutes, so about 2 hours long. And we saw quite a few announcements here. Like I said, none of these were like crazy, massive, internet breaking announcements. There were some interesting ones, though, that we'll point out that could also possibly lead to these games going further multi-platform, possibly even going to the Switch, because some of these we weren't 100% sure where the licensing and the rights were with, like Sony, for example. We're going to talk about that as we go along here as well, because there were some interesting possible revelations that could have been made here. So I guess let's start with Obsidian's new IP. It is called Grounded. It is a sandbox survival where you are tiny. You're like the size of an ant, for example, and they shrink you down. You're running around kind of in like a backyard, tall grass. You see bugs and spiders, all kinds of stuff there. It's going to be going into early access in the springtime. And of course, that's on Xbox One and PC. Don't Nod showed off Tell Me Why, which is available in the summer. And that's actually from the creators of Life is Strange. So it's like a story-driven adventure game. Everwild is a game from Rare that's their new IP, and unfortunately, there wasn't a lot here. They showed off a trailer, and it looks kind of like it looks like a cross between Sea of Thieves and like Breath of the Wild, just visual style, not necessarily gameplay. Although, looking at it, it looks like it'd be like an action-adventure style game, and they just didn't really tell us much. They showed us a pretty quick that's what I kind of said would happen here with this. It would be kind of like a CG trailer, and that would be it, because the word is that this is like years off. Like, we're looking at a very early part of this game in terms of its development cycle. This most likely is going to be a Scarlet only game. And you know what? I like the look of it. I need to see a little more overall, but I do like how it looks and what Rare could be going with here, because it could be like an expansive open world adventure style game. Similar to Breath of the Wild, but probably not on that level, just because of like the once in a generation factor for Breath of the Wild. But I like the way it looks. I like Rare kind of trying something like this, and we'll see how it goes. Honestly, when Sea of Thieves came out, I was pretty down on that game, and they have spent quite a bit of time building it up. So I do have more confidence in Rare now than before when they launched like Sea of Thieves. And then we just started getting tons of announcements of games going to Game Pass, third-party games specifically, and some third-party games that I did not expect to be here. Yakuza. They're going to be bringing several Yakuza games over next year, early next year, and they're going to Game Pass. They're bringing Yakuza 0, Yakuza Kiwami 1, and Kiwami 2, all of which coming to Xbox One Game Pass. They say early 2020. On top of that, Square then comes in, and all of the Final Fantasy games are coming over. This was crazy, and they're all going to Game Pass, all of which happening throughout 2020 from now to the end of 2020. We're talking Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, 10, 10 to 12, all the 13s, and then 15, all of which showing up. We also saw Streets of Rage 4, My Friend Pedro, Witcher 3. There's a lot of stuff showing up there, but they weren't done. We also had Rage 2, Age of Empires 2, the definitive edition course that's out now. They went crazy with these announcements all over the place. Now, Square also announced that the Kingdom Hearts, the first ones where they did the HD collection of them, are also coming to the Xbox, which was only on PlayStation systems for a while, and that was something we kind of had a bit of a theory about, is there something with the music? I mean, there's like some with the music, or for some reason, a lot of people thought that it was tied to Sony, like with licensing. Doesn't seem to be the case. So keep that in mind going forward, because now we've seen it jump to the Xbox. I am a little surprised it's making its way to the Xbox before the Switch, but don't count that one out, that you could see it show up for something like the Switch. And that also includes Yakuza. I'm actually surprised that's on the Xbox before the Switch as well, but hey, Microsoft got some deals done. They also showed off Nexon's Kart Rider, which is a pretty popular PC game. And then they talked about Wasteland 3, which did close out the show. That's coming May 19th, 2020. New update for Sea of Thieves. And yes, Halo Reach was indeed there. It's being added to the Master Chief Collection, and it's coming for console and PC on December 3rd. So it is going to make it out this year. That's very, very exciting. We did see Bleeding Edge. That's going to be available March 24th. Still not really sold on Bleeding Edge, although I'm kind of down on hero shooters in general, so maybe that's more me than anything else there. West of the Dead, which is a twin-stick top-down shooter. That's from Raw Fury. That's coming with an open beta through November 25th. Keep an eye out for that one. And then they had like this big blowout for xCloud. They talked a lot about xCloud. They showed actually some pretty big games going there for the current preview that's going on, where they have over 50 games is what they said, and I checked because I'm in the streaming program currently, and yeah, all those games are there. I'm going to go over xCloud and Stadia in a separate video, so keep an eye out for that, because I also want to talk about my experiences with the streaming app on my phone, because after yesterday, when they really started showing it off, and I checked it out again today, this morning, it's there's a lot more there than Stadia, and this is a free preview, so I'm starting to have a lot more questions for Stadia now. I mean, we're talking Devil May Cry 5 got added, Madden 20 got added, WWE 2K20 came out. Yeah, it's broken, but it's just on there and you can just stream it. So, hey, Microsoft, they did pretty good with XO overall for the fans. No real big AAA game. Microsoft really needs to work on closing out the presentation with something massive. I know Fable isn't going to be there. That would have been something to close it out with. But for the most part, for it not being an E3 event, but like their own fan event, it was all right. Next up, let's talk about Google Stadia. They held an AMA for some reason. Apparently, it was just like spur of the moment kind of thing. Not the greatest idea, although they did have to get out a lot of information, because if they didn't tell us this, we would have got there on launch day and the internet would have caught on fire from people being so frustrated with what you're about to hear. It sounds like a lot of the stuff that they advertise to people in kind of like, you know, they have like their sizzle reels and stuff. And they tell you all the cool features. A lot of it, they're not going to be there on launch day next week. I mean, it's gonna be hard enough apparently for some of us to get our Founders Edition that has the controller and the Chromecast Ultra, but let's go through some of the features that Ars Technica was kind enough to round up as to what's not gonna be there on launch day. So on day one, the Chrome gameplay, which if you just want to play on your PC in your Chrome browser, won't support 4K HDR or 5.1 surround sound. They'll look to be adding that in 2020 for PC players. So it's going to be very similar to Project Stream that I played last year, how that was, I guess, 1080, 60. That's what you'll be expecting on your PC. I guess if you want 4K HDR 5.1, you would need a Chromecast Ultra, and that is specific as they're going to be pushing a patch or an over-the-air update for regular ones at some point. They just say sometime in the future. So if you have a Chromecast now, it's not necessarily gonna work there. Also, Stream Connect, that's the kind of way where you can integrate your stream and you can have people jump in. That's actually not going to be done until the end of the year. That includes the state share as well, which has like the crowd play through multiplayer on YouTube stream. Yeah, also not going to be ready this year, apparently. Family sharing won't be ready apparently till next year, early next year, according to them. There's no Stadia UI for achievements or achievement notifications, but if you do earn these achievements in the game, they will eventually pop when they update it shortly after launch. So again, no achievements UI when you first start it up. Chromecast Ultras, again, are the only ones that can use 4K Ultra. You'll have to wait for an update for other Chromecasts. And then the Buddy Pass, which is the idea where you get it and then you can basically hand off a pass that gives someone else 3 months free to try out Stadia, will not show up until 2 weeks afterwards. And one of the strangest things that I've ever seen, you need a phone for the initial setup and then to buy games. Apparently you cannot buy games like through Stadia. I don't get that. That is weird. You need a phone to buy Stadia and then you can turn, I guess, to your Chromecast and play it, or play it on your specifically your Pixel phones. That is odd. There's something going on here with Stadia, and I think the biggest thing is they're trying to beat xCloud to market, but here's the issue. xCloud's already being beta tested with over 50 games, and they're better. These are just games you can just go in and try. They're better than the launch lineup for Stadia at this point. You have to buy those games, so it's not looking great for Stadia right now. It's so strange. I just think they're rushing this thing to market right now. I think a lot of us who bought the Founders Edition, I'll just say it, we're paid beta testers. So I'm looking at xCloud, and to be honest, it's looking a lot better than Stadia right now. I guess we'll see going into next year as Stadia gets to roll out their free version, which I assume they're then going to immediately integrate into all of their stuff. That's, I think, their biggest plan, whereas xCloud seems to be kind of taking their time and getting things right, focusing more on, I will say, the responsiveness overall rather than just aim for, 8K and all this stuff that Stadia is talking about. But hey, I'm supposed to get this Founders Edition next week, and we'll be taking a look at that. Next up, let's talk about the NPD, which are the sales in the US for the month of October. And that, of course, was the month that, like, Luigi's Mansion came out. We, of course, had Call of Duty, and we'll go over the top 10 list. First, we'll go over some of the system sales. sales. The Switch was number one, of course. The Switch is going to be, like I said, one for quite a while now, and for the most part, it was a pretty good October, except the only one that it didn't do better than was last year's 2018, which was like record-setting. Otherwise, hey, the best October this generation so far. Pretty good. Let's take a look at the top 10 as you're seeing here. We start with Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019. We got to put the year on the end of those now because they're naming them the same as years ago. The Outer Worlds at 2. I'm so happy to see the Outer Worlds there. That is amazing. Great stuff there by Obsidian. I like that game a lot. Awesome to see it there at number 2. Luigi's Mansion 3, no digital sales counted. That's what that asterisk means, just physical at 3. A very good launch for Luigi's Mansion 3. Apparently it's the best in the series so far. Good to see. Madden NFL 20 there at 4. NBA 2K20, then Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Breakpoint, WWE 2K20, FIFA 20, Borderlands 3, and Ring Fit Adventure, which made it into the top 10. Hey, good for Ring Fit Adventure to see that there. There is no digital version, I guess, because you need the wheel and everything. You need all of that. So good to see that actually getting in the top 10. I'll be curious to see if it falls out of it, because in Japan, it's actually been rising at times. It's sold out pretty consistently there. Maybe Nintendo really does have a hit on their hand, like a Wii Fit kind of. It's definitely better than Labo, I would say. It's going over much better than that. But for the most part, the NPDs were kind of status quo, except for the Outer Worlds and Luigi's Mansion 3, which did it without digital sales. But I'm happy to see those two games, the Outer Worlds and Luigi's Mansion 3, in the top 3 for October. That is great. And our last bit of news, talk about Final Fantasy XIV. We've talked about this a couple times, how it appears to be stuck on PC and PlayStation. There have been fingers pointed at both sides. Oh, it's Sony. Oh, it's Microsoft that's kind of keeping this from coming out, or on the Xbox or even the Switch. Well, it looks like Microsoft is going to be figuring this out. It is fascinating to see this. I think Final Fantasy XIV is going to start going multi-platform to the Xbox, and I think it'll eventually follow up to the Switch. This was tweeted out by Tom Warren. The Final Fantasy series is coming to Xbox Game Pass. Phil Spencer also revealed Final Fantasy XIV is coming too, and Phil Spencer did talk about how he is working to figure this out. So yes, it looks like Final Fantasy XIV, something we thought, again, was stuck on the PlayStation 4, it is showing up, it seems anyway, on the Xbox. And I do think that one, along with the Kingdom Hearts series and possibly Yakuza, will start to follow to the Switch. I think we're getting away from it, all these games kind of just being on the PlayStation now. I think the parent companies of those games are starting to figure out that they can indeed put them other places, or who knows, licensing ran out, or maybe they're just like, we're gonna make more money. That's the way it is. But hey, good to see Final Fantasy XIV could open up. They got to get the cross progression figured out, I think, and they definitely got to get the cross play figured out. But we'll see what happens. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This one is from Michael saying, I've been messing around with the xCloud and streaming from my Xbox, and when I was answering questions for the Xbox Insider Hub, one of the questions are, what devices do you have that can stream? Well, Nintendo Switch is one of those choices, and I believe it shows up in at least 2 questions. I wonder if this is a hint to something in the future. You know, xCloud on the Switch would be very, very interesting. My one question there, and I'm trying to figure out if that's something they could figure out, how would Nintendo exactly benefit from xCloud being on the Switch? Do they get money from the app if somebody buys through it? Like, do they get royalties? What's stopping that person from buying the Xbox version of Witcher and streaming it rather than buying Nintendo's, published version? Or why necessarily would they want to do that for everything? I mean, in one sense, you could say, well, they might be able to sell more Switch systems, because if you don't mind streaming, that kind of removes the third-party restriction that we see at times where a game might not be announced for the Switch but other platforms. That's one way to look at it. But again, Nintendo likes to make money from their systems after they sell it, and unless they're getting a slice of that pie for when things sell on xCloud through Nintendo's system, I don't necessarily know if they want to do it. But I mean, the Microsoft-Nintendo relationship is as strong as it's ever been, so I guess you can never really count it out. It is interesting to see those show up in those questions, although I think that's more marketing research on Microsoft's part, just to see how many people have a Switch and go, oh yeah, I would like to play xCloud on there. And ladies and gentlemen, let's go to here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit the like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about today, whether it's the Google Stadia AMA that seemed to uncover quite a bit of stuff, like not even being able to buy games apparently. through the UI on Google Stadia. That's very strange to have to use your phone. Also, what do you think about XO19, and what do you think about a lot of those surprise games, Japanese-based games actually show up there and coming to the Xbox? Interesting stuff overall there. And then what about the MPD sales with Ring Fit in the top 10, Luigi's Mansion and Outer Worlds in the top 3? Thanks guys for watching. Have a great weekend. I'll see you back here Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time for Newswave.